Excuse me, sir?
Hello.
Hi, we're just asking New Yorkers, what do you do for a living?
I work at a slaughterhouse.
What?
Slaughterhouse. I work the air gun.
Oh.
So when an animal is no more, you take an air gun with a 6-inch rod and it right inside your head.
Oh. What's your favorite part of your job?
Watching the light be released from a living creature.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay. Serial killers. My goodness. Anyhow, this is a dark subject, and there were several times during the research on it that I literally began to shake a bit and get lightheaded. It was so disturbing. Oh, but anyway, I did it. I'm not sharing any of the really more lurid graphic content I discovered, but anyhow, I discovered some things of which I really wasn't aware. And I think I and just about everyone else aren't aware of some of this, really, because the powers that be don't want us to be aware of it. Because if we were, we might be reluctant to get out of our house every day in the morning, or get up out of bed, or not sleep with a gun under our pillows. Oh, my goodness. Nonetheless, it's never wrong to share the truth. And that's what I'm a-doing here. So here goes. I'm going to talk about who they are, how many there are, the types and links with other organizations they have. Oh, so here goes. And I'll get started with some facts I've discovered. And, oh, by the way, Grok on X is a great way to do research without spending hours scouring around the internet. It just spits out the information for you just as easy as pie. AI is definitely the future of internet research, and it's going to put a lot of people out of work too. But anyway, before I get to the classifications of these people, I'll just get this over with, and then at the end I'll take a look at how a lot of these gargoyles are linked to larger organizations that might spook you a little or a lot. Okay, let's define the topic here, because as old Socrates said, you can't have a discussion about anything until you agree on your definitions. So anyway, a serial killer is a person who murders 3 or more people, usually with a significant break between each murder. And these individuals typically kill for psychological gratification, and many serial murders involve sexual contact with the victim. And I think we already all know pretty much that. That's just, I guess, common knowledge. Some things that aren't common knowledge, though. 30.5% of serial killers are white males. You know, all you ever see on the boob tube and what have you is about how they're these mean old nasty white men. However, that is not the case at all. 30%, it's lower than a third of them. And I think probably the reason why they're always depicted as being white men is because the powers that be want to attack white men in society. It's literally the politicization of a crime. But anyway, then, and 55% of serial killers are black. That was a big one. I didn't realize that. And then the intelligence of serial killers is average. There's no such thing as this smart, Hannibal Lecter type. I mean, I'm sure there are some like that. Ted Bundy was like that. But overall, they're not any more intelligent than anyone else. Okay, and here's the part that really blew me away. But really messed up gave me butterflies in my stomach. There are between 25 and as many as 2,000 serial killers operating in the United States today now. And if you want to get a sort of a greater understanding of the magnitude of the situation, watch this documentary called The Killing Season on Netflix. It's about some people. They started out investigating a serial killer on the East Coast. Next thing you know, they discovered that it was two serial killers because of the bodies they were finding. Then from there, it just branched out, and the next thing you know, they've discovered that there are literally thousands of these guys roaming around all over the country right now. And I'll bet you anything, since the FBI says 25 to 50, whatever they say is going to be wrong and deceptive. I'm inclined to believe it's closer to the 2,000, which means that sometime in your life, you're probably going to walk past within probably 100 feet of some of these people. You may not know who they are, of course, but you'll be in close proximity at some point in your life, especially if you hang out at truck stops or travel very many places.
Most serial killers keep some sort of trophies from their victims.
I didn't.
Well, and also, as with any other human endeavor, when people start to study it, they start to analyze it. And in this case, they've come up with 4 general types of serial killers. And I'll read them off for you here. There's the visionary. These are the killers who claim to receive divine supernatural messages to kill. Like God told me to do it, what have you. There are mission-oriented serial killers. These folks believe they have a noble mission to rid the world of a particular group. It's like they're like, misguided. They see themselves as misguided heroes, Then there are hedonistic serial killers. These are the ones who kill for pleasure. That's what we typically think about, really. And then there's the power control-oriented serial killers, and these are the people who get off on the power and the control. So now let's go a little deeper into these 4 categories. First, let's discuss visionary serial killers, and we'll go over 4 types of those, and I'll give you some examples. There is the religious visionary. These are the serial killers who claim to be on a divine mission to cleanse the world of sinners or to bring about the end times. Apocalypto people. And then there are political visionaries. These are people who believe that they're fighting for a political cause or ideology. There is the psychotic visionary. These are the serial killers who suffer from severe mental illness and believe they're receiving messages from otherworldly entities, kind of like the son of Sam saying that his dog told him to do it. Although we'll see later that his dog didn't tell him that. That's bullshit. And anyway, there's the cult visionary. These are the serial killers who are part of a cult or group. And that's who the son of Sam was. But anyway, as an example, there's Herbert Mullen. This California man killed 13 people in the early 70s, claimed that he was preventing natural disasters by performing human sacrifices. And, that's something that people have been doing for a million years. David Berkowitz, also known as the son of Sam, and it's supposedly his dog, told him to go kill, people. Joseph Collinger, a self-proclaimed prophet, believed that God had instructed him to kill women and children. And then there's Richard Chase, known as the Vampire of Sacramento, because he thought that Nazis were going to turn his blood into powder. And so he had to go out and kill folks to keep those pesky old Nazis, those pesky people. So anyway, those are the visionaries, and I'm sure that's a whole lot more than you probably wanted to know. Well, and next on our macabre list of morbid analysis, we're going to talk about mission-oriented serial killers, and there are 4 types of those as well. There are religious zealots. These are the ones who believe they're on a divine mission to, cleanse the world of sinners or something. Then there are the political extremists. These are the ones who believe they're fighting for a political cause or ideology. Then there is the social purists. These are serial killers who target specific groups of individuals that like, Jews or black people or what have you. And then there's the cult fanatic. These are the serial killers who are part of a cult or group that believes in a shared vision or mission. And a couple of examples would be Joseph Paul Franklin, who was active in the late 70s, and he killed blacks and Jews. And there's John Allen Muhammad, and he was the DC sniper. He went around all over the place after 9/11 shooting people, him and a buddy. And those were serial killers. They didn't masturbate while they were killing anybody, but, they still killed multiple people. So they're serial killers. And anyway, onward and downward. Next, hedonistic serial killers. This is probably what most of you wanted to come here about anyway. Didn't you? Yeah, really, you did, didn't you? All right, anyway, there are 3 of those. The lust killer. These are the ones who get their jollies from sexual gratification, and they often rape their victims before or after killing them. And then there's the thrill killer. These are the ones who kill for the excitement and the adrenaline rush, like they're adrenaline junkies of the murder world. And then there's the comfort killer, because he just feels so comfortable. These are the ones who kill for financial gain, and they're like Robin Hoods of the murder world, except that they're robbing from the rich and keeping for themselves. Picture a lady who poisons a succession of husbands. That might be a comfort killer, I suppose. But anyway, let's give some examples here. Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, he was, into necrophilia and cannibalism. And I actually know someone who knew him. She worked with him at a chocolate factory up north somewhere, and she even gave him a ride home one night. And I was talking to her in the teacher's lounge, and she just said, "Oh, he's just a regular guy. I never would have known." So anyway, that gives you an idea. That's only 1 degree of separation from this guy. Most of you probably know someone who knows someone. But anyway, and then there's Ted Bundy. He was like the Hannibal Lecter intelligent, type, and he did the necrophilia and raping and what have you. But anyway, these are the guys that everybody thinks about when they think of serial killers, pretty much, I think. The hedonistic serial killer. And now we've only got 1 more to go, so let's move on. Okay, next we come to the power control serial killers. And there are 3 of those, 3 types. There is the sadistic power control killer, and these are the ones who get off on the suffering and humiliation of their victims. And they're like, the BDSM type, the S&M enthusiasts of the murder world, except there's no consent. And then there's the anger retaliatory power control killer. These are the ones who kill out of a sense of anger or revenge. They're like the "you didn't call me back, so you must die" type of people. Actually, they're people who've been just unbelievably and savagely abused as children. And of all the serial killers I can think of that I might have some sympathy for, it was probably these guys, reading up about these guys. Sorta. And then there's the systematic power control killer. These are the ones who plan their murders meticulously and leave little to chance. They're like the serial killers with OCD, the anal retentive serial killers. And let's take a look at 2 examples. One prime example of power control was Dennis Rader, also known as BTK. he was seemingly normal family man. In fact, at one point, he quit killing for 15 years while he was raising a family. No, I mean, he had kids, a wife. They didn't know. But anyway, he led a double life as a sadistic murderer. And then, of course, he bound people up and tortured them and killed them. And then another infamous power control serial killer was John Wayne Gacy. John Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown. I mean, there was a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This guy came from inner space, I guess. But anyway, he was burying them underneath his house, and he was just killing and torturing. And, he was a monster with a smile. He smiled as he killed you. But at any rate, those are the 4 types of serial killers. Okay, now this is the part that I found especially dark and appalling. I mean, when I learned the number of these people operating, I was kind of aghast. But this is what really caused my stomach to knot up. A lot of these people are part of larger organizations, and the FBI, as it says there, the FBI says 5%. And if the FBI says 5%, it's probably 50% or more. But, who knows? The point is, though, there are a lot of these guys who are working together as part of a larger organization. So I'm going to go back through some historical examples, and I'm going to tell you about it. Now, there was the affair of the poisons in Louis XIV's court. There's old Louis right there. Actually kind of a handsome fellow when he was young, but he made all his nobles come and live with him in Versailles, and next thing you know, they all started poisoning each other. And they discovered there was a bunch of them who were Satanists, and they had murdered as many as 2,000 babies. And I think the king might have been involved probably too, but no one dared accuse the king. It was his mistress was involved in it. But see, they were all part of a larger organization run by some shadowy, defrocked priest operating from the shadows, and they were killing babies, and they were an organized group of serial killers. Then next, there were the Thugis in India. They were a murder cult that worshipped the goddess Kali, and then they would waylay travelers on the road at night and kill them. And they may have killed as many as 1 million people over the course of 700 years without being caught. And I've talked about these guys in another video, along with the affair of the poisons, but they couldn't have gotten away with it for so long if they didn't have people on the inside of the government with power who could cover it up. I just don't think that. But anyway, there they were, a big organization murdering maybe as many as 1 million people. And then next, there are the Aztecs. They were literally a nation of serial killers. Their primary source of protein was human meat, and they sacrificed people over and over. One time in a single day, 80,000 people. They drew people from all the nations around them and preyed upon them like they were hunting animals. They were a nation of serial killers, and they were obviously very organized. And then now let's get into a little more recent history. There was the son of Sam, David Berkowitz, who supposedly had his dog tell him to kill somebody. Later on, though, he turned about and admitted that he was part of a larger organization. And the detectives who had investigated the whole thing initially, they reopened the case, and they came to that conclusion too. And if you want to learn more about it, look at The Sons of Sam. It's a documentary on Netflix. Tells you all about it. There is no doubt that he was part of a larger organization, and it all linked back to this Process Church of Final Judgment. That name keeps popping up over and over again. Charles Manson had links to the Process Church, and there are a lot of others who also had links too, but I can't I can't find those anymore. I've read about them in the past and heard about them in the past, but I can't find them anymore. The internet is being shut down. But this Process Church of Final Judgment has their fingers in a lot of pies. Notice one thing, too, about these guys. All of them, with the exception of John Williams here, whom I'll discuss in a second, they're all visionary serial killers. All of them. They were visionary serial killers. But anyway, there was John Williams. He was a truck driver, and he belonged to an organization of supposedly 2 women and 5 men, and they were kidnapping women at truck stops and holding them hostage and torturing them to death over time. And they were doing it, though, I guess, for the kicks of it. He finally got caught. But he was part of an organization too, the Netahe, they called it, some kind of an Apache word. I learned about him from that documentary, The Killing Season, and that was what they discovered, was that there were thousands of these deaths all along the interstates, and typically, it's people who roam the interstate highways and murdered truck stop prostitutes and others. And, here in Texas, there was one guy who was working the highway between Houston and Dallas, working the freeway for the longest time. And I think I'm pretty sure they caught him already. But there you have it. That's probably more than you ever wanted to know. But hopefully you have some information now that you didn't have before. Hopefully, because that was my desire, to put information in your head that might influence decisions you might make in the future about how to vote and what have you. That's always my goal. But anyway, if you liked it, subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And adios. Bye.